Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner West?
Here.
Mayor Neely. Sorry, Mayor Holliday. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Get it out of the way early.
Read the notes.
Thank you, Nancy.
Touche. That's good.
Okay, so are we going to talk about future items tonight? Does anybody have anything really pressing, or are we going to save that till after the retreat?
Let's save it till after the retreat.
Okay, so we'll move on to 3. Discussion items, 3A, library project update and presentation. I have to ask a question. Has everybody read the material that they sent us?
Yes. No.
Yes.
Okay.
The parking study
So in
was
the
quite
future, let's
lengthy.
try to read the material before we get to the meeting. So, Maureen Cole.
Great. So good evening, Commissioners and Mayor Holliday. See, I got it right. Tonight at the work session, we would like to update you and fill you in on all your questions and concerns about the library project and let you know what's next. We've been doing a lot of work on it, and most of you are pretty up to speed on it, but we're going to be coming back to you next week to ask for some approval. So this is a great opportunity to ask questions and talk about the transportation study or anything else that's come up on your radar. So as you know, because some of you were involved, on May 20th, the bond was approved and passed, and that led us to deciding what kind of building we were going to build. And on October 15th, we decided to go with the one-story building. And then what we've been working on are which options for the the two-story. Completely. See, I told you I had new material for you tonight. I went with the one-story, but I was voted down. We went with the two-story option. So we have been working on 2 options for two-story, and there was a consensus for the option that was with the one we called the atrium, which had less glass on the front, was a little bit more traditional, and was a little bit more complementary to the existing Carnegie for a lot of the people who were looking at that. And so since then, we have been to see a number of groups, including the library board, which decided that, sure, we can support that. That looks good. Let's go with that. And we've gone back to HRB, PRAC, and we've moved forward with schematic design. So tonight what we want to do is show you the schematic design and what we've got, and delve into more of the questions that you might have.
Thank you.
So at this point, I want to introduce our architects, Sid Scott and Joan Jasper, and they'll give you a little presentation here.
Good evening. My name is Sid Scott, principal with Scott Edwards Architecture.
I'm Joan Jasper, associate with Scott Edwards Architecture, project architect on the library project. A little shorter than Sid.
So we wanted to give you an update on where we are in terms of the design process. And I'm glad, Mo, that you decided that we could do the two-story, because that's the one we brought tonight. So.
Great.
I thought we were doing the underground.
Good use of the gavel. So we want to give you an update on where we're at, and as Maureen said, we're looking to come back next week and get approval and move forward with this into the land use process and into the design development stage of the project. So we'll just roll in and ask questions as we go, and we'll take her from there. Okay? All right. So it's been quite a process, and many of you have been involved in that, so you know some of the background of why we've gotten to this point. So we're going to just move forward with where we're at, but if there's questions about what's occurred in the past, we'd be happy to respond to that as well. Okay? So looking at the site plan, the first thing we really wanted to do is try to maximize as much of the park features as we possibly could with adding the new library to it. So will this move me around? Aha, yes. So key features of the park, we've got the grove of trees on this side of the park, which we've tried to work around and maintain as much of that as possible. We've got a very active side over here with the splash pad, and then in the back part was a kind of a quieter part to the park. So, and then we've got this beautiful kind of Beaux-Arts entry to the Carnegie off of John Adams. And so with all of those components, the final decision was locating the addition to the building on the back side, and really an idea of maintaining the beautiful presence of the current library. And a real big part to us, I think, at the community, everybody, is really to be very respectful and enhance what's there currently. So that has really been the goal of the project. So the way that this is working out, we've got the spray park over here. Our plan is to do some enhancements to that. So some additional landscaping and potentially some additional seating around that area, and really make this something that is more of a year-round kind of use, so more of a plaza kind of feel than just being a spray park, because that really helps in terms of creating this whole area here as more of a public kind of plaza. And that idea being that the new entry to the library is going to be in this location, and also from the 7th side as well. So the idea is to really make an active plaza space here. The play area that was currently right here will be relocated to this area. So again, maintaining the features that the park currently has, and we think enhancing that. The idea with this plaza area is that we'd have a series of steps, so that it's a very kind of grand gesture to the park, something that folks can sit on, and you can imagine all the kinds of things that could occur in this plaza area. It's big enough to, I think, really do a lot of interesting and great things there. So the entry, again, to the library would be here, and this is the 2-story addition on the back side. We're maintaining green space all the way around. We've got a little service area back in here for deliveries and trash and that sort of thing. And then again, the play area located here. We're also proposing to add accessible parking spaces on the street on 7th here.
So I take it that the space from the handicap parking spaces straight up is a ramp?
That is, so
So if you
the
go
handicap parking
from
here.
left to right, if you go right there, that piece is a ramp going up under the
Yeah,
canopy?
well,
Yes,
it's
yes.
it's underneath the canopy. It's actually almost level,
Right.
That was one of the nice parts about it meets the sidewalk here, and you'll see this when we get into the renderings of it. But it
So if you extend that line all the way across, what's the little round thing on the other side?
We could ask that earlier today, too.
the bump.
It's really good. The idea is to really connect on all 4 sides. So it's really just the intersection of the existing path to kind of the new entry off of 7th, and it's just like a little garden. It has quite yet to be designed, but it'll just be a terminus point for that.
The idea is that folks, you want to bring folks from the neighborhood from all directions, and so
No, I get that. I just don't understand the little round thing at the
Oh.
end.
It's
probably
just
be like
terminus
a
to the
little
walk.
overlook
So
or
it's just
something
a
there.
round concrete pad?
Yeah, with maybe some shrubbery and.
It's
Okay.
decorative.
All right. Well,
Maybe a
Stopping
bench.
point.
So
What's
you know
that?
your favorite
bench.
part.
Yeah, it
it
could
just
be a
looks
bench.
weird to me is all.
Okay.
Well, good. Duly noted, and we'll work on that. Okay, so I think that in general is the site features and how we've tried to maximize the site, how the building sits. Let's go to the floor plans, and Joan will walk through those.
So again, John Adams is up here. This is a ground floor. Here's our covered entryway right here. And, both for historical reasons and kind of service point, we have to touch the existing Carnegie rather lightly. They call it a connector hyphen. We also located the entry, or the entry and kind of main circulation where it would be central to both the addition and the existing Carnegie, right in here. And so we call this the atrium. It's a 2-story space. It somewhat overlooks, you'll see the renderings in a little bit, overlooks the back kind of feature wall of the Carnegie and then creates the entry into the other programs. This area here is children's, kind of entering here, stair to the second floor, community room and its support spaces here, kind of a restroom, vestibule, elevator here, with kind of the idea is with this is kind of self-contained for after-hour functions. So you would actually come in here, there would be a gate that you would pull across here, and then you would be able to utilize this whole area without actually interfacing with the rest of the library. So your the holds area, it's hard to see here, it's a little washed out, but new acquisitions, kind of points of interest, there'll be tables and kiosks out here, all that can stay secure if you have after hour. And then the idea with the Carnegie book return and sorting here with your RFID will go in what is the existing librarian's office and now kind of the main service space. And then this will be technology, so internet, microfiche readers, that kind of thing. And then the main reading room will be very active with current periodicals, local history collection, etc. And with the existing basement level being for staff only. But the idea is to really keep this reading room an active space. So we're kind of just opening up where the windows currently exist, and a back door here to create kind of this flow-through space. The fireplace will stay active, as well as anybody who wants to come in or out of the Carnegie can do so. All right. So that's pretty much the first floor. Here's the big picture window. Remember, you have a big canopy of trees, so this is all kind of a filtered view, and community overlooking the plaza here.
So 3 entrance points.
Yes.
3 entrance
yes.
points.
I have a question
Yes.
on the ground floor with the bathrooms and location to the spray park. So right now they just go through a door that's right there.
Yeah,
so
that's
they'll have
good.
to go through the entry and then it's a little further away. But
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, because it's still very much on the spray park side of the,
Yeah.
and that's one reason we ended up with that, so that it could be as close as possible to the main door, the main entry. Yeah.
Well, I really like it can be partitioned off with the community center so it can be available after hours. That's
Yeah.
And I think we can work on the squeeze point too. I mean, these are schematic. So
The other part of that with the community room is the idea at the entry there to the community space is that is just an open space, so that it's going to be inviting. It's not just a room with a door. It's really an open space that invites people to come in and use it during the day, times when it's not being used as a meeting space. Because the idea is, with any of these spaces, is trying to make them as multi-purpose as possible and carry as many tasks as they can.
Yeah, in the community room, we're thinking about having like a really large sliding door, like maybe not a barn door, but a sliding door, like
Right
something
here,
that operates that
right.
way, right there where she was showing, so that it's the opening is like really wide, and then we're thinking about having certain things in there so that it is inviting to go sit in there when it's not in use. So it's not just like a dark space that is shut down when nobody's signed up to use it for a meeting room. We really want it to be actively used.
And there's a little kitchenette in there. Is that what
Yes.
it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a AV studio room here, and then kitchen and storage.
Nice.
I think
so
it's
good
really
for meetings and that
Yeah.
type of thing. Good.
But-
So is that going to be set up like these chambers are, so that
Well, we plan on having the equipment that we could record with, yes.
so we'd want to plan on a direct connection with the studio then too?
Well, yeah, we should talk about that. You know more about that than I do, but yeah, we want it to be, a really good, alternate commission site if we
Yeah.
need it to
Yeah.
be, or whatever.
Yeah, that's-
Library
that's
board
great.
meetings, we could just have there and record there.
CIC.
Oh,
Well, I think it's important. I think it's important to have another community room, so that's great.
Yeah,
and
it
the
should be a
library,
really-
very important. So that's a good.
I think another strong feature of it is it's really visible, so people are going to see it. This is the front door, coming in. So we really anticipate that's going to be a very active space.
nice.
Okay, let's go upstairs.
This is the second floor coming up here. Fiction and nonfiction kind of woven together here. Kind of administrative or library support, whether it's study carrels, offices, training room, conference room here, media right here, and then the teens area. Really just separated more by furnishings, but still kind of off to itself, feeling of privacy, but can still be monitored. And then looking down, open to below.
And they have their own little, teen room over there too.
There.
Little teen lab, whatever we decide to do with that. So they definitely have some
Like
dedicated
internet?
space.
Some like internet, that type of thing.
Oh
and
yeah, well, we
technology.
can have distributed internets over there too, yeah.
What is this pink space down here on the left? I can't read.
Right here?
Yes.
That is a training slash conference room giving small classes, whether it's in new software or, how to start a business, that
How
kind
to
of
download
thing.
books. I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many times when we need a space where we can have 3 or 4 people or more
Book
and
club,
just instruct
right.
them on, all kinds of stuff out there that we could do instruction on.
So will that be some of your programming will be in there, some of your programs, or is that going to be more in the community room?
Oh, I think the programs will be in the community room. This would just be for smaller stuff,
Okay.
either like staff stuff or, it could be a number of things.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the capability to close the community room, or like kind of any expansion doors, or?
You mean to divide it up?
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah.
It's big enough that it could be split into 2 small rooms, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Fair.
we're, we have lots of little,
hate those things.
with the study rooms and the conference room and the community room and this and that. We have lots of little places of separation where different things could be happening.
Yeah, 'cause
which we
lots of
do not
things-
have anything like that right now.
Right, and then
it's
in
a bonus.
the children's center, the programming for that is typically done in the children's area. Will it be done in the children's area in this one? Is there going to be open flex space for reading groups and that type of thing?
Yeah, there's kind of a story time
Right in
right there.
here.
See?
Right.
So that could happen there. And some crafts could happen in there. But then again, also, if we think it's going to be big enough, we could schedule the community room for bigger activities and have the kids go in there and do stuff too.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just a thought here, and that is, if you're thinking about having a way to separate that community room, that it be maybe think outside the box a little bit, because like I said, I work in construction, so the big ugly things that slide across or whatever, let's find a way to make it. We're building a brand new building. Let's try to find a way to make it as attractive as possible.
Great point. Well, you want to make it so that people want to use it too. The dividers, and that's
Right.
always an issue. Something that's easy to use and that looks nice in there.
Key switch. That's
So
easy.
I have a question. So
Get one of those accordion ones up in the
compared
ceiling.
to the children's room now downstairs, what is the size of this one compared to that one? Is this
Oh.
much bigger?
Oh, it's much bigger.
Okay.
The one downstairs is probably like
Double that size.
like like that, but remember the big walls
Mm-hmm.
come in and take up a bunch of room.
I would say it's going to feel probably 3 times as big.
I appreciate
Just
all
the-
the space that's been allocated towards the children's center, the
Thank
children's
you.
area.
I
That's
think
great.
it's really important.
It's really important, and it maxes out so often. So that's great.
Right. So off the floor plans, and then this is the Carnegie roof right there. So we've just captured some views from the SketchUp, but this is the iconic view from 7th and John Adams. So you're seeing kind of the mass of the building. You're seeing that 7th Street area peek out that leads to that beautiful little contemplative circle.
I'm thinking a square now instead of a circle.
How about a diamond?
Something's done.
We've been feisty all day, sorry. And then this is kind of the development of 6th and John Adams with the development of the spray park. Idea of a new kind of seat wall, which will help us take up grades, preserve the existing spray park, but yet take up grades to make that accessible kind of plaza. And then the trees, real great gathering spot. We are showing a minimum, I think we're required 12 parking spaces. It's been discussed for bicycles. It's been discussed to add a little bit more. So we're allocating some, right at the play area and then some closer to the building.
I think this view is it just shows that it's actually a nice sized space where the spray park is if you expand it into a plaza. So tremendous opportunity, I think, with that. I just want to mention also from the building standpoint, you can see that the base we are picking up lines, heights, even window widths, that sort of thing from the existing building. And then the second floor is essentially a glass clear story, which I think has a nice respect for the existing building, but also very exciting. And when we get inside here, you'll see potential of those spaces.
Right, so we've been working a lot with this cornice or eyebrow to mask some of the height behind it for structure and penthouse, but really trying to keep that feeling like a clear story or treehouse, birdhouse, the idea that it's this little perch that overlooks the park and you're up in the trees. So we've been playing a lot with that and maybe the inverse, of some of the geometries that are going on, but trying to keep it quiet and in the background. So this is coming up 6th. This is your ADA, parking here. The covered walkway. You're seeing the spray park here and the trees set into the paving. This will be a really great opportunity with low impact development and stormwater. This is downhill kind of from the main site, and so we will probably be looking at pervious pavers to capture some of that on-site water, etc. So, and then this is the relocated playground, which will have a new kind of soft surface. The swing, we're looking at whether we can move it, and then the slide will be kind of redesigned to meet ADA and be a little bit lower, but it will essentially look like the existing slide, kind of in deference to the McLaughlin neighborhood. They're very attached to it. And then you can see kind of the recycling drop-off area behind here. But there's that kind of crown that, again, is trying to reduce the mass of that second story.
So you can see the entry, back to that one just a sec, the entry from the 6th Street coming in, and it's essentially flat across there, which is fantastic for the access point. But what I really like the idea of the steps out there, because I think that's something that can really be used. Folks sitting on those, you can see all sorts of things that could occur out there that really help activate the entry and make this bigger than just about the library.
I really like the book drop right by the sidewalk, because that's a long ways to run up to that book drop sometimes in the rain. So
Miss it.
that's nice.
That's where we'll have it very close.
We're adding 4 ADA. We don't need to because we have no on-site parking. But we're doing that. It's something that we've heard over and over and over again from the outreach that we've done. We're also adding 3 15-minute drop-off spots so people can return their books, go in, pick up a hold, that kind of thing. That's another thing that we really...
And those will all be on that side.
They'll be all on 6th.
So the quick access points.
One other thing I just wanted to point out, the building has 4 beautiful sides to it, and so clearly the front you experience when you walk up from that side, and the idea of having the entry now essentially behind the building is that you can experience the sides as you go to the entry if you're coming from the John Adams side. But really also wanted to create an opportunity to experience the back of the building as well. So you'll see this glass piece here, which, and we'll show you in a minute here inside, but that idea is to make a very light connection to the existing Carnegie, and then replicating, or not necessarily replicating, but using familiar material as part of the new part, but having this separation right here. And so it goes up high enough that you can see really the entire back of the building.
We'll just kind of walk you around the four corners and then we'll go inside. So this is from 7th and Jeff. You're seeing the backside. This is the bay window where nonfiction, and then we have kind of a little bit higher windows. We're buried quite a bit. We're probably 4 to 5 feet below grade. So we've got some clear story windows, some great opportunity to have shelving below.
So your little round doohickey isn't pictured on this one.
Right. I guess we'd already thought that wasn't a good idea. The other thing I'd point out, on the Jefferson side, we've got this essentially a glass bay window that comes out from the second floor, but that is in respect to the existing building, so that
right.
when you are going down Jefferson, you will be able to look through the library and see the back of the original building. So I think it makes a nice connection to all 4 streets that way.
So where are the mechanicals?
Mechanical units.
Yeah.
Mechanical units. We'll have whether we use a hot water system. We'll have a boiler inside, and then we will have probably 2 to 4 mechanical units up top.
On the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's partly the idea of creating a kind of an eyebrow. So from below, it blocks your projection of seeing anything up there.
Breaks the sight line up there.
Yeah. We'd really like to use the part of the basement of the existing building, because there's a section of it that is very low head height wise, but potential for some mechanical down there. So I think that'd be a great use for it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not that great for anything else. Storage, basically.
So this is kind of the view view from the interior. So this is the vestibule on 6th, vestibule on 7th that goes out to that wonderful round thingy. And it's kind of service points here, stair up 2nd floor. Again, really trying to make this a building in the park. Skylight here. We've got this when we submit to both the Historic Review Board and site plan design, we will be designating a few alternates just because of cost and budget. And so the skylight, because we have so much glass in this building, we are kind of listing that right now as kind of an alternate.
It seems like there's so much open space in the lobby. Is that going to be utilized in any way? Is there going to be
Space in the lobby?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot you're not seeing. That's where your self-checks are going to be, probably your new materials, your holds are going to be on one of these walls. So, there's going to be stuff that you come in the door, and the stuff that you immediately need, that is going to be there.
Okay.
For sure.
So just a question, because I get on ladders and things all day long. How do you clean that skylight from the inside?
From the inside?
As it gets
It's
dirty
glass,
from the
right?
inside.
Yeah, yeah.
So glass gets dirty. How do you clean
Right.
it?
There's like a
Architects don't think about these things.
Well, you'd have to bring a lift in,
Yeah.
or a lift. Clean
Okay.
it from, you mostly need to clean it from the outside.
Well, right,
Yes,
but
which is, from the roof access.
We're gonna need a lift to change the
But
bulbs.
Joan has volunteered to take that task on. So, is this being recorded?
my son has lighting, so I'm not gonna have to change light bulbs anymore.
Yeah, but it's a great point. We always worry about that with light fixtures that are in a second floor ceiling. There's all those issues that you have to deal with in terms of access to it.
I've been up inside the very smallest part of the towers at the convention center, so
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. There's a story.
How was it up there?
it's tight.
That's got to be tight up there.
So how big is this space? Is this 20 by 20, 12 by 12, 10? It
that's-
looks like it takes
It's
a floor.
about 30 by 30 actually, but the 2 service points for the for both the children's and the main library will be there. Holds is there. All the kind of new materials, points of interest, a lot of that stuff will be in this space.
I think some soft furniture would be nice too. So that people that want to come in and just people watch, great spot.
Well, My concern was, if you're having an event, let's say you're having a fundraiser, can all this be blocked off from, so that you could use this space as part of that community room?
So that the lobby could be
Yeah.
included in that? That would be more difficult. You'd have to run a series of grills down. I mean, it's possible to do that.
Yeah, but then you've got all the technology that's going to be there that you can't move around.
I think some of it will be mobile,
Mhm.
you know, and then some of it will be less easy to move. But I think that you're making a very good point as far as being able to use the lobby.
You had a
for-
super large
But
event then.
It's a
if you were
beautiful
going to do that,
space.
you'd have staff there
Yeah.
anyway.
You would
Watch it.
actually probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And probably have
That's
the
what
whole
I'm
library,
thinking,
you
yeah.
know.
Say,
Right.
yeah.
You could rope it off or, do something like that.
Also, we've had discussion about the fireplace room, and that's also going to be accessible to smaller events too, Mo, is that correct?
Well, you know, the way it is now, like it's kind of set up as a living room, I still see that, possibility. I mean, definitely, that's what the fireplace should be serving as. And I also really want to be sure that we have movable items in there, at least to some degree, that can be moved so that the fireplace area can be used for some small events as well.
Can we go back to that slide for a second? The one with the fireplace room?
The floor
The floor plan?
We have,
Or do you have a picture of it inside?
No,
No,
we
no,
don't.
no.
Okay.
Can you
So-
close it off, Phil?
So
See
this,
right here?
this is this right next to the fireplace, that hallway.
Yes.
Is there a door there?
Yes.
What kind of door?
Just
Double door?
It's what's there right now.
A double door?
Yeah, so one
Oh, yeah,
leaf
you
goes
know-
one way, one leaf goes the other way?
Yeah, you know, the door, they're always open.
So it's a swinging door,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's not lockable at this point.
No.
And then
Okay,
there's
so-
no bathroom in
Right.
that area, right?
right.
Oh.
So that would cause a problem
Good
if you
point.
wanted to rent it, because otherwise you could rent it out. It could be used for a different.
I think
couldn't it?
there's gonna be an awful lot of materials in
Okay.
that room. You know, that's where you're gonna have your local history, your genealogy, the reference, that kind of stuff. What?
the bathroom is, the lower part of the lower part of the Carnegie would be staff area,
Yes.
but with the restrooms and that would be probably gone down there too, right?
Well,
Staff.
We don't
we're
know.
gonna reuse those as restrooms for staff. We may do a little bit of remodeling just to save some space. But yeah, we had planned on, having it
But
be
if
just
that-
staff space.
If the lower part was you could section that off, and if the stairway was still there, you could still
The
have.
stairway will probably still, we have
Stairway's
to
You would
have
still
some
have the
stair
restrooms
access to
down
the.
below for that section
Right.
if you had to
So
use
do you
them.
guys see like a huge need to be able to use the Carnegie after hours? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't know.
Well, I think it's just
To have
mention
the
about
option,
the
I
community
guess.
living room and the fact that it's seen as the community living room and be able to have access to that room with a fireplace. Because there has been programming, you have had programming there after hours with music and other events. And it's
Right.
been well received.
Right. So the difference between that and what we're envisioning with the community room is that a lot of the staffing that happens now, of course, programming is with staff. And there would be somebody on site to have that kind of stuff. The community room, the way we're setting it up, and the new one is that it could actually be closed off and no staff would be there at all.
Right.
Right, and you
Yeah.
just issue that group a card
Exactly.
to use
Or
for a
whatever.
one-night deal,
Yeah.
and they can walk in and use it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Yeah. So some of the issues aren't quite the same and doesn't have to be quite as contained if a staff person is going to be on the premises. Do you know what I
So
mean?
for the events
And
that you're
able
talking
to-
about, Carol,
still have
you'd-
something like that.
there's still going to be staff there, so we would still, it's
Okay.
not like we're trying to use, it's not like we're trying to give somebody access to the place without having staff there.
Yeah.
Right.
But the community room, the new
That
one, we
will.
really want to be sure that
Right.
we at least have the option to completely have no staff and just, have everything contained and the rest of the library completely closed off.
Yeah, so they're for different uses.
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, it is pretty amazing. There's going to be a lot of interesting spaces in this
Yeah.
facility. That would be fantastic for
possibilities.
various size
Yeah.
events. And it's going to be, I think, such an interesting contrast. The historical part, the new part, they're going to be compatible but different. And so you have the opportunities to have different kind of a feel for events and all of those kinds of things. So, okay, let's go to that, the image of the atrium space. looking the other direction.
Here we go.
There we are. So there is the atrium space, the entry from 6th, the back wall of the existing Carnegie, and then the openings that would go into the technology space as well as into the reading room.
Right. So again,
And then down to the community space there.
I love the brick. Being able to see that inside is so
looks
nice.
good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you'll be able to match it pretty well.
So that'll be a discussion we have if we should match it exactly, close, or,
Okay.
how you want to do that. But that'll be a little ways down the road. But the idea is to give it that same kind of rich masonry feel.
kind of the view from the community, or from, excuse me, the children's library. We'll put in a little more playful furniture, I think, in reality.
Kind of stuffy for kids.
They might have a
I
couple
know.
books in there, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, but the idea is when we're laying this, when we're planning this and designing this, is that the new addition and the Carnegie are really one. So those windows are set up as much, the views are set up as much to see the park as they are to see the Carnegie. So the same in the meeting area, when you're looking out that big bay window, you'll see the plaza, and the sides of the Carnegie. So you're really engaging it. You're preserving the entry off of John Adams, and then you're really engaging it both from an inside, outside, on the back. And then this is from the second level. Again, you can see, all of this is pretty much open planning. Low to mid-height shelving will be in there. So you really get to see out.
Into the SketchUp.
Yeah, so that's it for this.
And we want to fly you around.
A little bit.
Fantastic.
Pretty exciting.
This takes a minute.
We're going to make the model move around, so if you need Dramamine, it'll probably be a time to take that.
And Mo, how was this received by the library board and the neighborhood associations?
Everybody seems to be pretty favorably impressed with it when they see it. We get comments. We were just in front of McLaughlin Neighborhood Association the other day. They didn't get to see the layout one, and the library board has not seen the layout one yet either. We'll get this in presentation and post it on our website. But it's, people are, they have things to say about it, but it's going over very well. Wouldn't you say, Brian, that it was Commissioner Shaw at the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association meeting the other day, that they had commented that it was generally favorably received?
I think so. There's a lot of detail things that everybody's kind of interested in, like we're talking about here this evening and stuff, but for the most part, I think everybody's pretty comfortable with it, so.
Yeah, it looks great. You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
This is like the ant's eye.
So again, kind of.
And the colorful people really add something to it.
We like
We
those
encourage
colors
that.
a lot. So again, kind of the plaza. Bikes. Showing more bikes here. We will need to look at covered bike parking, so that'll probably happen right in here. But there's our entry porch,
That's Rocky.
Covered by parking?
required. And
Covered what is?
Covered bike
Parking.
Is that showing the ramp or stairway still there?
A stair.
Stairway.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ramp's gone?
Yeah.
The ramp would be gone. Could you come in the?
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So that reclaims some of that plaza space for us.
Do that.
So there's kind of duplicated. There's a little bit of a lag here. Again, kind of, that. We're going to try to enhance a little bit of the playground, try to see if we can get some more age-specific equipment in there, potentially.
I assume that's not going to be grass.
No, it'll probably be a artificial grass, so or soft surface. But I think we're looking at kind of the artificial or the turf style is what we're looking. I mean, and that's up for discussion. You know, kind of the refinement of all the materials and that kind of thing we're working on now.
So there may be room for some additional equipment as well, and would that go through the neighborhood process to kind of see
They
what
would
they-
need to. If we start adding things, I think that they would.
So kind of from the corner, you know, here, from Jefferson and 6th, so you can see that. Street trees along here, kind of a delivery zone here. Stormwater, our roof will slope from west to east, and we'll probably collect a lot of the stormwater retention on the back, which should make a really beautiful, kind of garden area.
I'm trying to get an idea of the elevation change there. Right behind the slide, is that a terrace down?
It is a
because of the-
retaining. It's a
Okay.
retaining wall. So what we'll do is we'll probably make that relatively level, and then return to the natural grade up here.
So when we were answering that question the other night at M&A, Joan said that wall was about bench height.
Yeah, so that'd be a
Another
great.
seat opportunity.
Good seating
Right.
wall.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, and we just found out there's some old growth wood available from the Ermitinger, and so we'll look at. We've done this before in projects, where maybe the top of that concrete is a exterior wood bench, and that could be from that lumber, that kind of thing. Thinking the same thing. We'll be removing a small amount of masonry from the existing Carnegie to create those entries into the technology area. So we will try to reuse that in some
So
way.
with all of these seating opportunities, steps, all that, what are you building in for skateboard protection?
Typically, we put the little clips on the face of it, which
Are ugly.
makes it hard to skateboard, and they're not bad.
They're not bad.
The original, when they first started putting them on, I thought they were pretty ugly because they were big and clunky. But now all you need is really a bump to make it not productive for skateboarders.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like
and
a
as you
bull
can see, there's
nose,
many
like a
walls
bull
here.
nose?
What's that?
Like a bullnose piece? That type of thing? Or?
No,
It's really
you imagine
just
this is the top of the wall.
Yeah.
Put a little angle piece on there.
Yeah.
So they can't.
So they,
So they
they
can't
can't
slide.
grind.
They can't
They can't grind.
slide across it, or if they do, it's a bumpy one.
So this is from 7th.
I really appreciate all the attention to detail you've done on all of the sides of the library, of the addition, to really make it blend with the neighborhood more. It's great.
One of those fun projects where there is no back, really.
Yeah.
It's very lovely.
Thank you. See if I can.
Oh, that's nice.
And then you would be able to look through there into the library, and then also see the backside of the Carnegie.
So you're going to try to match this white, or what is white now, to the same shade as the accent bricks on the original building?
We don't know yet.
That's possibility. So we're going to come back with multiple ideas on how to do that, because we don't want to get it too clever and, trying to make it look exactly like it. I think, to keep the original detail and the importance of that. But we want to find something that is going to have some detail to it as well, if that makes sense. So that's the next level of study that we'll get into on the project.
Well, this is very exciting. Thank you.
So
All
is
right.
that the end
Yes.
of this?
That is the end.
So,
Because we're running about 15 minutes late. So do you
Okay.
want to talk about the transportation study?
well, so there's a transportation study that was done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Deep analysis. And we actually had some questions about it from the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association. We met with Denise McGriff and Jesse Buss this afternoon to go over some of their questions about, assumptions that may have been written in. And so we've gotten our transportation expert back on that. But we are thinking that it will be essentially ready to at least submit with our proposal, and then the city can decide, which of these suggestions it wants to follow up on with making, requirements for things that we have to do. So for instance, one of the things that came up was to create a turn lane coming down 7th, turning onto John Adams in front of the fire station, and that is a good maybe transportation idea, but the alignment of the lanes and the parking may not be just right there. So the city may not like it because of that, and you lose a little bit of parking in front of the fire station, and it creates another, it does take people into a left-hand turn lane, and it takes them out of the lane of traffic, but so these are things that are in the transportation study and were recommended by the expert. And we're just, going to pass those things along as our expert recommendations, but then the city has to decide, which ones are they going to require of us.
But the overarching, there's a lot of detail in the transportation analysis, but the major finding is that the existing on-street parking within a 1 block can support.
In conjunction with the parking lot that we just purchased.
Yes.
Which is mainly for
can
staff.
support.
Yes.
Right,
Mhm.
that's what it
Yes.
said in the study.
And so now we're working with, I guess, just refining, what our square footage is to what's required, and then working with some potential other designated parking, like the Ermitinger Firehouse. But the overarching thing is it looks like the parking works.
I was surprised by that. And that there was no mention of, I was surprised that the on-street parking is sufficient, and that there was no discussion about diagonal parking, because some of those streets around there are fairly wide.
Yeah.
And initially, in the early discussions, there had been talked about maybe there might potentially be diagonal, nose-in parking to increase the capacity.
Well, even though 6th is pretty wide, I'm still not sure that it's wide enough to have that. And the the transportation consultant felt that if we would just stripe the spaces that we have so that they could be used efficiently, and then provide this, fairly rapid turnover of the 15-minute, along with ADA spaces, that would kind of take care of a lot of what are the problems right now. In addition to moving the book drop out closer to the sidewalk,
Yeah, that's true.
With diagonal parking, we'd have to do, major traffic revisions to one-way, because you'd be approaching. And when we originally calculated it, we just didn't get that many additional spaces, believe it or not.
And will there still be the red curb by the fire station, the no
Yes.
parking red curb?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have to do that.
You have to have enough room for a fire truck out there.
So we would be striping at least that block, but maybe even off of
maybe
that
even
block.
more. Like, I would recommend
6th and
across the street where, a lot of library patrons park.
Yeah, it really helps to stripe. People park much more efficiently if there's striping there. Because right now it's just wide open, and so.
Once you stripe it, you can enforce it too.
Yeah, and that's a great point. But also, it's just paint, so it's not a real pricey investment, and all of a sudden you have defined parking areas.
I think we have behind the Ermitinger house. Those will still be head in, but there's a handicap space that's going in there. I don't remember how those parking spaces in the back of the Ermitinger house, but I know that the handicap access for the Ermitinger house through that back part, so that's part of it.
We need to talk about that.
I don't know. I guess there's still a no parking sign in front of the Ermitinger house, which I think was originally there for the trolley stop, which I assume is going away. But the stripe, the curbs, this look like they've been recently painted, and there's still a no
Right.
parking sign out there.
Well,
So I
and
don't
we
know.
talked with this really briefly
About
about this with
dropping
John Lewis
off.
the other day, not about the stop sign, but about the curb paint that goes back really
Yeah.
far. He said that typically if you have a stop sign, then you can
Right.
relax those a little bit so people can park closer to the
Intersection.
curb, the intersection, because you've got the stop now. So, that is all going to be worked into the mix as well.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, because I think there was no parking there for the trolley, which I think would be interesting to discuss. Because even if the museum gets open, you're still going to have buses or various other vehicles that come in for that. So that might be.
So, definitely.
Daphne?
Yeah, sorry.
Did I understand this correctly, that the parking lot on 7th and what is it, John Adams up
Jeff.
there?
Jefferson.
Jefferson, right
Is
here.
reserved primarily for staff? So, well, I really think staff need to be able to go to work and know they have a parking spot. I'm just surprised on a public building, and here it's, we were out talking to the community, and the biggest concern is how are you going to put this library there? How about all the parking? And I just feel like maybe, or it's just a thought, that is the top parking, and it's going to go for staff. And I don't know if there's another place.
Here's the question.
Down.
The question is, on average, how many people are you going to have working in the building at any given time?
Well, we have about 10, but let me just describe this lot to you.
Okay.
When you first approach it, it's like, wow, this is a great lot. It would be great for the public. But when you start using it, it is like very, very tight. And it's like bumper cars in there, kind of. And what's really ideal up there, I think, in my mind, is people who could just kind of go there once and be parked there all day, not this in and out that you would have with. It would be a nightmare to have a bunch of baby strollers and all this kind of activity up there. It is so tight, Daphne. It's really
Okay.
surprising.
How many
Then-
spaces do you have in that lot?
Well,
17. They say 19, but we're
yeah,
Counting
but it's
17.
not
Counting
19
17.
legal spaces. There's no way. And the other thing is, I guess one of these primary parking things, I thought the exact same thing as you, but I started talking to our enforcement officer, and she said that a basic kind of planning tenet for parking is that you get the staff off the street, and then you make the street all available for your customers and your patrons. And so that's what we've been trying to do, is get the staff off the street and leave all those spaces that are closest available for the patrons. And also the hill going down there is really very, very steep. It's not ADA accessible. It's too steep for that. So there's just like all these problems. Also, we can probably have a little bit of access for the dentist and maybe, the building that's next door as well, and still offer them a little bit of employee parking to help keep their employees off the street as well. So a lot of thought went into like just thinking in the end analysis.
So
that
how are
it's
you
just
going to
not
enforce
right.
that? How are you going to enforce that?
Well, we may have to do signage, and we may have to have stickers.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you are thinking about some kind of enforcement process
Yes.
for that lot.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention one thing on the parking. It was really interesting. When you actually stripe the street,
Yeah.
there's about 29 spaces now that are contiguous with the library.
Really?
That
28.
28,
Yep,
sorry.
yep.
Almost 29.
Yep.
But it's surprising when you add them up and you actually put them into right-sized parking spaces, because I think that's a big thing, is by striping, I think people will park in there versus
So you're
taking
talking
up two
about
spots.
both sides of the street on the three streets?
just-
No.
John
just-
Adams,
no.
6th,
No,
and
just
Jeff.
adjacent.
Just contiguous. So on
There.
John Adams, on 7th, and then on
Park
Jefferson. So it's on that. So literally, on the library side of the
Because
street.
the other side we can't count. And I think even with the traffic study, I think when we striped it, we picked up 5 spaces from what was perceived, and
So the
it's all
folks-
been laid out by our civil engineer and such like that.
So the folks that are on the east side of Jefferson, from 6th going towards 7th, you've got 2 or 3 mental health treatment facilities there. One?
One family.
But then
Center, yeah.
isn't the building right next to that, there's some kind of an office, right? It's not a house.
It's really hard to tell what it is, Dan.
The one on the
Mayor
corner?
Holliday. It is unsigned. I don't know who owns it.
Okay.
This one right here,
The
Mo?
one on
Well,
the corner at
yeah.
602.
The one on the corner is the
Jefferson.
mental health facility.
The one in the center
Oh, the
is
center.
yeah.
Okay, and then there's
Yeah,
one
and then
on
there's the
either
dentist.
side.
No, what there is there's the dentist office that's in our parking lot,
Right on the alley.
right on the alley. And then there's the big house, which is the family
The Andreessen
It's a-
House.
center, the Andreessen House. And then there's the one on the corner. So there's really
So
only
my
3
question is,
buildings.
we open the library, you're not going to be able to, how are you going to still ensure that at least that business has some parking?
Well, they still have their side of the street.
Well, yeah, and
I mean,
and
their
I
customers can park on whatever side of the street they want to park on as well.
I think we ought to think about some way to give them a couple of spaces. Otherwise, you know, I mean, right now the library doesn't really have enough patrons, so I just a thought that we can talk about later.
Well, I think everybody can park wherever they want.
Right, it's
Just
not-
the striped parking around the
I
library,
understand,
anybody
but
could
the
park
theory
there.
here is that
Yes.
we're going to dramatically increase the use of this facility. And so, right now, during the day, probably somebody can pull up there pretty much any time and get a space within, a half a block. But it may be unlikely that may be the true after this thing opens. So something that we need to think about, I think.
In the traffic study, I think it's figure 9, they project kind of the traffic and parking movement after the library is complete. And it does take into account, I think, the parking that's along here, like in a 1 block radius. There's still, on average, 52 available spaces.
Rocky?
mean-
So I think part of it is just signage and an education about where to park for certain things, because the Ermitanger House is going to be open. There's going to be, use of that building, which there hasn't, has not been consistent lately. But I guess also so many people park on that back side of the Pioneer Center. But the parking lot behind Atkins is our parking lot, right?
Yes.
Right. So, I think most people that go to the Pioneer Center have no idea that that's our parking lot. And they park on the street or they park behind the Pioneer Center. And so I think part of this is signing our city lot across from Atkinson's as Pioneer Center parking to kind of encourage people to park there for Pioneer Center and on the street for
Or just
library.
sign
But
it as
because I think right now
public
there's a
parking.
general knowledge that people think that's the church's parking lot.
That's what I thought.
And it's not.
Yeah,
So
no,
I
it's
think
it's a public
we have
lot.
to communicate that better. That'll help a huge amount too.
Put up a couple of those
Absolutely.
big blue public parking signs. And you don't
So-
have to call it for whatever. just-
Absolutely.
That's a good idea.
Okay, is there
So-
anything else?
Yeah, so next week, we're going to come back to you and just ask if we can get your approval to move forward into design development and start the public process, review process. So you'll see us again, our bright and shiny faces, and we just want to be sure you had an opportunity to ask all these questions.
We'll be coming back with a 1-story option. Is that,
You won't have to worry about changing the light bulbs.
Yeah, there you go. You'll have some
no, so
some
we've got
benefits.
we'll be bringing back the same thing.
That was not funny.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, they turned off that. Okay. City manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick update from John Lewis. Oops. I'll go. You good to go over there, John?
Yeah, I'm going to switch seats here. Sorry, Wyatt. I should have prearranged that.
We have something up on our
A quick update?
Just a quick update on something that I wanted to bring before you today because it's come up recently. the city has a reservoir up on Mountain View Street, and
Really?
out of that reservoir, we serve the lower. We serve basically what we call the intermediate zone, which is down below, basically Pearl Street. It's most of the area. This area is in the intermediate zone. Well, we've got an old steel 12-inch pipeline that runs through Singer Creek Park, and is that not working? Sorry. That line has been a bit of a liability for a long time. We did our annual leak detection where they sound our pipes and look for leaks and those kind of things. And sometimes in these natural areas they're hard to find. But we found that a stretch of this on Lynn Avenue has got a lot of problems with it. It's actually leaking and significantly leaking at several locations. I don't know if you noticed, but we've had a couple of crews out there doing some work, and there's a hole in the park right now. We've been putting Band-Aids on that thing, and so and we called the leak detection company back, and they've found a lot more, and they're saying, you got to do something here. So that line, we're analyzing whether we even need that line, because it is kind of a redundant piece and something we think we could eliminate and not have that liability anymore with some addition of some what we call pressure reducing valves and a connection, or at least one pressure reducing valve and a connection between the upper zone and the lower zone. So the reason why I'm bringing it for you is because we need to issue a consultant contract. May not exceed $50,000, but in case it does, I wanted to make sure you were aware that we were going to be moving forward with a real kind of emergency quick contract for the design, and then we're also we brought on a contractor just to kind of QA/QC our design to make sure we're doing that in a way that we can sole source that project and just get the work done right away. I think in total we're probably going to spend $150,000 just creating a solution that will then allow us to abandon that 12-inch line. So
that's gravity fed?
It's gravity fed, yes. And it
bridges. And we already have the right of way, obviously.
We have Lynn Avenue. We haven't done a lot of research on the easements that line might be sitting in.
But I mean, there has to be some legal way for that pipe to get off of Cedar Lane and down to Lynn Avenue, right?
In theory, I would like to agree with that. I just haven't checked it all out, Dan. But
okay. You see where I'm heading with this,
right?
The
fact that it's been there that long.
You see where I'm heading with this, right?
I don't.
You're wanting to preserve that right away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what do we need there? We don't need a water line there, but we could use some other kind of line there.
Potentially.
Yes.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay.
So that's something I hadn't really kind of thought about, Dan, but we can look at that a little further. We're pretty focused on the water line.
Now it's on your radar screen.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of people up there in that neighborhood.
I don't know how well it works, but I would, grade-wise, we'll have to look at that. But so anyway, just wanted a quick update on that.
Thanks,
so
sir.
You wouldn't, because we may not bring those contracts. We may have to sign the contracts before we bring them back to you.
As long as it's under 50,000.
No, it could be over 50,000 because of the time frame and the emergency-ness of this leaky water line. That's why we're giving you the update.
The city manager has the ability to sign an emergency contract and then bring it to the commission with findings justifying that.
Which he won't do. He'll call us first, so that's fine. Go ahead. That's it. City manager?
Just to conclude, just to give you the commission, the week of January 19th is we're probably going to release the request for proposals for the Riverwalk design. So that consultant RFP will go out probably the week of the 19th. It'll be run out of Metro with our coordination as we have been all along with our partners on that project. Department of Land Conservation and Development Commission is holding their hearings up in Portland. We're giving them a tour of the Blue Heron site on Thursday, January 22nd at 1:30. They're going to start here at City Hall with a brief update on the project, and we're going to walk them down for a tour of the site. And then also we have the Clackamas County Legislators Tour on Thursday, January 29th from 3 to 5 that will be helping Clackamas County put on. They have all the legislators in Clackamas County come together for a retreat put on by the county, so we have a great opportunity to get all those legislators out on the site. So we're going to get as many as we can and help out the county with that tour. So that's all that I have for city manager's update tonight.
Okay.